You're listening to the Breakaway Breakdown, a bi-weekly podcast featuring breakaway roping's top talents from the professional level down to the amateurs, news, and more. We're going to be covering the fastest sport on dirt. I'm your host, Kaitlin Gustave. This episode is brought to you by Equinity. Stay tuned for the commercial break to learn more. Iowa, Louisiana's Josie Conner, at the age of 18, has already racked in so much in earnings just in the breakaway roping event. And today, you're going to get to listen to this young talent on the Breakaway Breakdown podcast. Josie Conner just finished up at the WPRA World Finals in Waco, Texas, and closed out her year with a WPRA World Champion breakaway roping title. Though at a young age, she didn't get to run at the big rodeos like a lot of the other competitors due to her age, but now she's already got points and money racked up for the 2022 PRCA WPRA World standings in the breakaway roping. She's had stellar performances pretty much everywhere she's went. She's a name you do not want to forget. And today, on this episode of the Breakaway Breakdown podcast, Josie is telling you all about her successes, her losses, her family, her great horse Tonka, her upbringing, what she likes to do in the practice pen, and how she breaks down her practices, and what you can learn from her and other coaches on breakawayroping.com. So, I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and here is Josie Conner. Josie, welcome to the Breakaway Breakdown podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you just came off of a pretty high weekend at the WPRA World Finals in Waco. Can you kind of tell me about that? You just won a world title, and you just recently turned 18 in the beginning of October.
Yes, ma'am. I actually had a little bit of a tough luck at the WPRA Finals in the average. I had a calf turn back on my second one, but I placed in 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. So I got some round money, and that's good. That counts to the 2022 World standings, and I'm trying to get into some of the big rodeos because my birthday fell at a pretty bad time, the day after the 2022 season starts. And so, it was pretty cool to win the WPRA title. So when we first bought it, so I was 17 when I bought my WPRA membership, mm-hmm. and I didn't buy it till January, and the season starts in October, so I actually missed 3 months of ropings that I was already going to and competing at, but they didn't count to the standings. So I really should have had more money won in the standings.
Oh, man.
I know it. We didn't know. We kind of didn't really look into it, and we should have, mm-hmm. but I guess it all worked out in the long run.
Yeah, I was going to say, the last updated standings were on the 14th of this month, and you have over $39,000 won, and Kelsey Chase Domer has $31,000. So, despite having a late start to your season, I would say you had a pretty successful season.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so what, and I know people probably have a lot of questions because you can still win world titles in the regular WPRA breakaway roping standings, and then now there's a whole nother world title. What are kind of your thoughts on that? Do you feel like after this year, you can say, yeah, I am a world champion, I won the year end, I'm a world champion, or is that different now since there is the national finals of breakaway roping?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know.
Yeah.
The WPRA, when they put out their press release this week, mm-hmm. they said that Larry D won the world title in the heading, and I think Whitney won the world title in the heeling. But when they listed all those, the all around, I think mm-hmm. Kelsey won it. And then they had a separate paragraph, and it was me. Mm-hmm. And so I was considered a junior roping member because I bought my card when I was 17, not 18. And they called it the national circuit standings leader. So I don't really know, honestly.
Yeah.
I definitely think that whoever wins the breakaway in Vegas will mm-hmm. be the world champ, but I don't know if we're having 2 world champs or how that works, but yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to have to dive into because I know there's going to be a lot of questions on that but I'm glad to get your take on it as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So now, at such a young age, and you've been pretty successful this year in the WPRA and the WCRA, WRWC,
Yes, ma'am.
what's the kicker? How are you being so successful in the breakaway?
I definitely think a lot of it has to do with the horse that I ride.
Mm-hmm.
Tonka. His name is Tonka. I've been riding him. I've had him for over 2 years, and I think, honestly, in the past 4 months that we've been going, I really almost can hardly fault him. He's been really, really good for me. Actually, he won Outstanding Horse of the WPRA this weekend, so I was pretty happy about that. He won a really nice a halter, and it had a buckle on the front of the halter. Like, it was really cool. I've never seen anything like it. And so I was pretty pumped about that, because if you know me at all on a personal level, you know how much I love that horse and how much it means to our family. But, my dad helps me a lot. I think being at home, getting to practice, making practice runs has also helped that a lot. And, just having a team of people behind you, because you can't do it all by yourself. No. And sometimes you have questions, or sometimes you need help with the little things, and it always helps to have someone's outside perspective.
Mm-hmm. And I want to dive deeper into your breakaway roping, into your horsepower. But what we haven't done yet is formally introduce and figure out who Josie Connor is on this podcast for people that might not know you, that are going to be listening. So kind of, what is your background, getting into breakaway roping, and just your upbringing?
Yes, ma'am. I'm an 18-year-old senior in high school. I'm from Iowa, Louisiana, born and raised. My dad is Jay Conner. My mom's Wendy Conner. My dad's tied on ropes for forever. He does a lot of lessons and moves horses and stuff over here now, but I'm a breakaway roper. And I've been really focusing on breakaway roping probably the last 3 years, and I've definitely seen a huge jump and all of that. But it's kind of cool, because I kind of feel like I've grown with the sport. I was at the first ever American. I've been to every WCRA except maybe Green Bay and Chicago. Love those. They do a great job for us. But yes, ma'am, just kind of, that's it, I think.
Yeah, and you have a great family too, because just from the outside looking in, I know your mom and dad definitely support you in all that you do and are just behind you 100% of the way, which is definitely something that I feel like everyone should have in their life.
Oh, they're huge. They're, I can't ever thank them enough for all that they've done. I think they're very influential in my life, and especially my success, in and out of the arena. My dad, a lot of people recognize my dad more because he's down in the arena, and he helps pretty much everybody, and he's kind of he likes to break it down pretty good. He likes to watch videos, and him and I, we have a pretty good relationship. And so anything that he says, anything he's like, hey, we need to do this, I can usually pick it up pretty easily, just the way of our relationship. But my mom, she's great too. She she's in the stands, but she's very involved with the horses. She really likes to, she always makes sure Tonka's eating right, or she's like, oh my gosh, he lost 2 pounds, we got to do this or that. She's like a fanatic about it. But I definitely couldn't do it without him.
Yeah, definitely. And especially your mom, I totally get that, because I remember when we were all at Larry D's house during the Texas high school finals, and you guys were staying out there, your mom was out with the horses every day, making sure they were taken care of, bathed, their feet were good, got their soft rides on. She's definitely taking care of them. No, that's awesome. And you also, which I know a lot of us in the industry know this, and like I said, people listening might not, you are kind of fortunate too, because you had Hope Thompson living at your guys' house when you were young. Talk about that relationship, because Hope's obviously an X-time world champion as well. So definitely you've had a pretty good circle.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I don't even know how old I was when Hope came over here, but Hope went to McNeese State University, and she lived over here for 6 years. I don't know how long ago that was, but the horse that, a lot of people know from Hope 8-track actually came from my dad. And so, we've just gone full circle. when she left and went to Larry D's, and I was kind of growing up, we only heard from her every now and then, because different schedules, obviously. But now that I'm out there at the Opens all the time, I see Hope all the time. And she's one of my really good friends and a very good, she's like family. So, yes, ma'am.
No, and definitely A-Track was such a great horse for Hope. I remember that she did buy him from your dad way back when, and that horse was phenomenal.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, well... So now let's kind of get into it. And on this podcast, I love doing it. It's called The Breakdown for a reason. What is something that you've personally been breaking down, whether it's within your roping, just horsemanship, mental game? What's something you've been personally working on and breaking down?
I think angles are huge in the breakaway roping. Horsepower's a lot too. Other than, making my practice runs at home, what I've really been doing is my good horse Tonka, when I first got him, he wanted to break a little wide and he ran a little free. And so we've been working on that a bunch. But here lately, and I said he's been doing so good, I almost never run a calf on him at home. But he gets saddled and I score on him every day. Make sure he's standing dead still dead still, not jumping the gates. And I do a lot of drills with him, like making him move off of my feet, getting into the pen. And then when we leave the box, I cross him over in front of the chute because I want to make sure he left hips the calf. And then I take him back and make him move back, side pass to the right, because I want him to follow the calves back wherever they go. And, I think that's been huge because not only has it helped our angles in the breakaway roping, but it's helps the way he rides around, and I think we have a better relationship. But it's anyone that comes over here, I'm sure they're thinking, what in the heck is this girl doing? Why are we scoring 15 calves and trotting in the pen? It's probably the most boring thing to watch. But my dad always says, when he explains it to people, he's like, it's like flanking and tying for the calf ropers, but for the breakaway ropers. We have to do the little stuff because, gosh dang, breakaway roping has gotten so fast. And there's almost no room for any error if you want to check. It is crazy how tough it is. Yeah.
No, I would 100% have to agree with you on that. Yeah, it's that split second, whether it's, something in the box or just leaving, or that is make it or break it for breakaway ropers.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely agree.
Yeah. And, like you said, everything's so fast. You have to be on point. And you're so young coming into this major breakthrough for breakaway ropers. How great is that you get to experience all of this as you're coming into it?
It's, like I said, I felt like I've kind of come up with the explosion of breakaway roping. But even before that, back when my dad was still going to the UPRAs and stuff, and I was probably 9 or 10 years old and roping against J.J. Hampton and Jackie Crawford and all of them at the amateur rodeos, not winning very much because I'm a 10-year-old and they're however many time world champion in the WPRA, And so I kind of have got brought with them my whole life. And so it's definitely, I think it's definitely been an advantage because I've had to learn how to not rope for the result, just rope and do as best as I can do. And, then the result, it's a good outcome. And so I've definitely had to learn that. And, I love how big the sport is getting. I'm pretty pumped for the $2 million with the American this year. And, it's just we're into Houston, we're into Fort Worth, we're into San Antonio, hopefully one day the Thomas and Mack. But it's so cool to see the growth of the sport. And it's an honor for me to be able to be known with it. And so I really, really like that.
Yeah, and it's cool too because there's obviously a lot of those women that have helped pave the way for this sport that aren't around anymore or are, can't physically compete anymore, but you still do have the Larry D's and the JJ's and those veterans that are still out there doing this with you guys as it's booming. And that's incredible to see that. And like you said, just to be able to grow up with them, already having competing against them at a young age, and now you get to compete against them at that professional level.
Yes, ma'am.
It's amazing.
And now I have a pretty good relationship with most of them, and that always helps.
Yeah. So like you said, you grew up with a lot of them. And I know a lot of girls, it could be intimidating. It's almost like that saying, it's like when your idols become your rivals, like you're competing against them. Not saying we're all rivals. We're all, the community is so tight-knit. We're everyone's friends. But looking at that saying, it's like you are friends with them. Like, what is something, a lot of girls are intimidated by a lot of these bigger names. What kind of, what should girls do? Like going up and seeing Jackie, Larry D, Hope, you guys are all big names now.
I definitely think that, a lot of people are intimidated, and I don't think they should be, because, no matter what, we're all humans, and we all make mistakes. I can tell you right now, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And everyone has bad days, and they're not fun. They are not fun, but it's part of the process. And so if you want to be a big name, a Jackie, or the person you are looking up to, you got to have the bad days. You have to go through it, but don't be intimidated. If anything, talk to them and learn from them, because you can always learn something. And you learn a lot by watching and listening. I really like I pick up a lot of things from different people just watching, even if I'm not even involved in what they're doing. If just watching, and you pick it up, and and you might see something that you do like, and you might see something that you don't like, and then just take what you do like and incorporate it into your own. And so I think it definitely shouldn't be intimidated.
Yeah. No, definitely reach out. I mean, everyone in this game is out to help each other, I feel like.
Yes, ma'am.
Equinety Horse XL and Equinety Ultimate OEC helps keep horses' bodies in the best shape possible when competing and going down the road. The amino acids in Equinety products help horses both at home and on the road. Horses recover faster and overall have healthier coat and hoof quality. Equinety products are a go-to for a solid supplement foundation for all horses at any stage of life, no matter what their job is. Equinety Horse XL is made up of 100% pure amino acids specifically formulated to give the body what it needs in order to promote repair at the cellular level. The Equinety Ultimate OEC is a flaxseed-based omega-3 with natural vitamin E and colloidal silver all in one, which makes for a very powerful antioxidant, helps neutralize free radicals, and helps to reduce inflammation. For more information, please visit www.teamequinety.com. That is www.teamequinety.com. Your horsepower. I know Tonka is exceptional. I love that horse so much. Kind of, where did he come from?
My dad actually found him. Wyatt Mugley started and trained him, and then we were wanting to buy him from Wyatt. We tried to buy this horse for like 4 years, actually.
Oh, man.
And something fell through, and they sold him to some family friends of theirs. And then we were actually at a school. My dad was doing a school at, I think it's ASU, or the school in Arkansas, the college in Arkansas. I can't remember the name of it. But he rode over to the fence and to my mom and was like, "Wendy, I've got to ask this girl where this horse came from." And he went over there and he asked her, and she was like, "Mr. J, you tried to buy this horse last year. Wyatt told me." And he's like, "Oh my gosh." So we stayed on them for like a year and a half, and then we finally got him. And I'm not gonna lie, we had some trial and error that we had to go through. Because it's all a partnership with your horse, and just getting that feel. You have to get the feel for them, and they have to get the feel for you. But he definitely. I don't know exactly what we did to make him who he is now, but he's been extremely important in my success.
Yeah, that you and that horse are such a team. It is really fun to watch you two go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know you were riding him in Las Vegas, where you had a big chance to win big. And in those progressive rounds, you made a complete stellar run, which you didn't even have to go out and do because you were already seeded into the final round. What was, when the pressure's on like that, especially when you already know you're advanced, what are the motions you go through?
In the women's finals that you're talking about, I was the number 1 seed, so I was seeded into the very final round. And, they gave us the opportunity to rope through the preliminary rounds and the semifinal round, what you're talking about. And my dad and I were just like, make your runs. If you get money, good. If not, at least you're getting a feel behind the barrier. And so it worked really good the first 4 runs. And, I got a pretty good feel for the barrier, I felt like, and came down to the final round. And, honestly, I just dropped the ball. I should not have. I wasn't nervous. I felt like we were, here for a reason. It's been going good all week, and it just didn't go my way that day. And, I'm hoping that maybe it will go my way at the American or somewhere. We're just saving it. That's what.
Yeah, you're just saving it for the bigger earning rodeo.
But the women's finals was great, man. I thought they did a great job showcasing all the ladies. And, Madison Uthier is just a winner. She's one of my best friends, and her and that horse never fails. She had Heck at the beginning of the week. We were kind of opposite. She had Heck, and she pulled through with the last year, Larry D. And, congrats to Shelby. I'm sure that $20,000 bonus was great for her. And, but, it just was cool to be a part of. And, they did a special on me on CBS. And so it's really cool to be involved. And the WPRA does a great job.
Yeah, no, and I thought that was stellar. You guys pretty much every time you guys back in the box, you guys usually have stellar performances. But it's great. I love that you explain, not everyone has stellar performances every single time.
Oh, I wish it was like that, but it's not. I tell you, it's not.
So what do you, when you are off, can you usually pinpoint the problems you're having, or, how are your off days?
For the most part, especially with the team that, that helps me and stuff, we pretty much can pinpoint where it's coming from, but just sometimes it's not your day.
Yeah.
And, but the biggest thing is, I usually give myself about 5 to 10 minutes, but for 60,000, I gave myself a little bit longer than that. We had the rest of the night, but, after that, you just got to shake it off. You can't let it affect, because if you let it affect you, then your next run, you're not going to win the money because you're affected by it. So you just have to shake it up. You have to pinpoint the problem. What do I need to do better? Okay, well, that's over with, so let's do it better this time. And so it's not everyone's day all the time, and I wish it was. That would be great. But then no one would enter because everybody would, but
yeah,
it's just, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you have your days, but you're also, I love that you're explaining all this, because a lot of girls, I feel like it's hard for anyone to get past those bad days. And that is why you're one of our awesome coaches on the breakawayroping.com site, with your mental game and your roping. I want to talk about that, your partnership with our video platform, the breakawayroping.com, and what girls can gain just from that, because there's girls like you, Larry D, Hope, Madison, all you guys are on there giving your guys' confidence tips, your roping tips, and everything.
Well, the people you just named are winners, and so a lot of people that you want to do what they're doing, because obviously they're winning. And no, but I mean, just like we were saying earlier, you can always learn something from anything, and you might watch it and be like, oh, well, I don't agree with what they're talking about, and then you learn something from that because you didn't like it, And so, but for all the videos I've watched, and I think it is really helpful. And it's just another way to, get some insight on the breakaway rope, and especially, I like the sport. I like to watch the horses, and I like to watch people rope, and the different, because everyone has their own style to it, and it's cool to just watch. So if that's something that you're into, then I definitely think that breakaway.com would be good for you.
Yeah. And you just said everyone has their own style. What is your style? Like, can you explain your style of roping?
What I'm trying to make it is, just making my run every time. I'm not a bomber. I definitely try to just make my run every time, and I don't really know how else to explain that, but just try to stay around the barrier and rope the calf whenever I get to the spot that I feel is comfortable for me and, for my horse. But I'm trying to be consistent and, knowing when the throw isn't there to win first. Like that's huge. Like, you have to know, I can't win first right here. Let me just make a good run, stay in the average, or if it's not an average roping, I'm keeping my horse good for when I do run a good calf. And so, yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. Well, like for me, when I'm roping, like, I lose my confidence trying to be fast. Like, when I know if a girl's like too flat and I need to just launch it out there, like, I like to swing over them a few times. Like, what are some tips, or what's something that you do to like push past that and being able to feel committed enough to let go of your rope when money's up?
The breakaway roping is so big now, like we've been saying. I don't think the people who win in the breakaway roping are who can throw their rope the farthest. I think it's who can get their horse to the barrier and to the calf the fastest, with the least amount of time. So, like, that's where I said all those angles come in, because you're always, it's kind of like the barrel racing in a sense, like you are wanting to cut out time with your horse. And so, but fundamentally, I would say getting to the front is huge, because if you're in the back of the saddle, then you have no option. So as fast as you can get your horse and you in position, just making your run. If you don't feel like you can be too flat, don't be too flat, be too forward.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, honestly, don't worry about the clock. That's the secretary's job, daytime. You are there to just rope your calf, because it's going to work when it's your time.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's a great explanation of that. And so going forward, obviously we're done with the Women's Rodeo World Championships. You just finished up in Waco at the World Finals. What's next for you?
Right now, currently, I'm trying to get into some of the building rodeos in the winter, because, like I said, I wasn't in the 2021 World Standings because I didn't have my cord ball, and that's where they take most of the contestants out of. And so I think there's 1 or 2 pro rodeos left for me to go to, Odessa and somewhere else I can't remember. Hopefully they'll add a little bit more for me to try to get up in the 2022 standings to get into like the San Antonio or the Houston. But the next, Vegas is huge. Vegas, I have a lot of junior ropings out there, a lot of money to be won. The first roping I go to on December 2nd pays $25,000. So that just, goes to show how much money there is all week. I actually rope 11 days in Vegas, between all the ropings and stuff like that. But hopefully after Vegas, we get to recoup a little bit at the house, give the horses a break for a second and then right back at them. But the American's pretty big. It's highlighted on our calendar. I'm actually seeded into the American from winning the junior NFR.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, ma'am. And I'm eligible for the $2 million. So
perfect.
That's huge.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, there's a ton of money to be won in the next few months. It's outrageous.
It's crazy how just in general how much money there is in the breakaway roping.
Yeah, and that's what I don't think people are realizing too. Like, yeah, these girls top 15 are going to Las Vegas for the national finals of breakaway roping, but there's so much more that breakaway ropers, whether they're inside the top 15 or outside the top 15, that they're going to be running for a ton of money those 2 weeks in Vegas.
Yes, ma'am.
It's crazy. That's because usually, when people think Las Vegas, it's the NFR or they think of the Area World Series of Team Roping finale. They don't really think about the other jackpots that are around. So that's what I think people really need to put breakaway roping on their radar, because honestly, it's blowing everyone away. It
is. There's so much stuff out there. Like I said, I rope 11 days out there. Like, sometimes more than one rope in a day, too. I run a bunch of kids out there, and there's just so much money. Between all the junior opens and stuff, I'm actually glad that I'm still 18, so I get to rope in the junior opens and stuff before they kick me out. But
yeah, you get that little extra fun stuff.
I do. I get
that
to
all of us old people don't.
I get to double dip a little bit.
That's awesome. I love it. Try to stay as young as you can for as long as you can.
Like, can we press pause?
Yeah. I'm sure your parents would love that too. Oh my gosh. Well, are you going to have time between all of your events in Vegas to go watch the national finals, or
the breakaway?
Yeah, the breakaway.
I think I'll get to go the second day.
Gotcha.
Yes. The first day I don't. I rope in the Mike Johnsons. But the second day I think I'll get to sneak away and go over there.
Can we have an inside? Who are your bets on?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Shelby's been roping pretty good, going in number 1 in the world. I'm sure it's a confidence booster as well. Jackie and Lady, they always rope solid and they're winners. Martha Angelone's a winner too. I don't really know. I haven't looked at the numbers much, and I really don't even know how much the rounds pay or the average. But I don't know. I think it'll be good watching.
It's going to be fun watching. They're top 15 for a reason. That's what I like, putting people on the spot like that, because I wouldn't have an answer like you. Like, there's no telling. Everyone, if they're on, it's game on for anyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
definitely whoever has their good 2 days, whoever's day it is.
10 rounds, 2 days, 10 rounds. It's going to be some fun watching. Oh my gosh. Well, Josie, I sure appreciate it. I appreciate you being on the podcast today. And I can't wait to see these next few months what you're going to accomplish, because you have a ton of roping just in the next few months and a ton of money to be won. And if you have a year like you did this year, I think you're going to be on point.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon.
Oh, 100%.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you again to Josie Connor for joining me on the Breakaway Breakdown podcast. And thank you to our awesome friends at Equinity. I hope you guys check them out, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Don't forget, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends, leave us a rating and review. It helps people find our episodes on our podcast, and it also helps us know what you guys are liking or not liking. So tell us, do you like this episode? Who do you want to hear on the next episode? And more. I look forward to talking to you guys soon.